the issue of innovation. And this brings us to why we actually have you on the program today. You are the Discovery Education and 3M Science Teacher of the Year, and this is an award that I know that just occurred. And so I'm sure you've been interviewed by people, you've been in the media quite a bit lately, and I'm really excited that you're here today. And I'm also really excited that we're going to do an experiment, and you're going to show us what happens in rural America in the science classroom. And it is quite inventive, isn't it?
Teachers have to be creative. You know, our tax base is not such that we have the greatest material available to me as a teacher. I have to be creative. I have to look at ways to stretch the dollar that I have. And a lot of times that involves money out of my own pocket. You know, other times it just simply means going to the janitor and say, can I borrow a few plastic bags? And that's what we're going to do today. So yeah, you have to be creative. You know, 86% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch, and those kind of children need to be entertained as well as educated. So I always say that a good teacher needs to be about 50% entertainer. So I try to be as entertaining as possible in my classroom. That way I keep their attention. I compete with a lot of things. I compete with football. I compete with Nintendo. I compete with the nightly chats on the computer for their little bit of time that they have to study with. So I try to make it as inventive as possible, and I think all educators do that.
What are we going to be doing today?
Well, we're going to be looking at Newton's third law, you know, the law of action and reaction. And what we're going to do is literally, we're going to put you in a large plastic bag.
Just one other point I want to make before we actually do the demonstration. How many people were you competing against in this particular contest, this award that you received?
Well, it's every science teacher in America,
Wow.
But I don't know exactly how many teachers were submitting videos. That Discovery Education required that there had to be many videos submitted, and there was, of course, a lot of paperwork. They want to know what you're feeling on education, your philosophies and stuff like that. And then when we got to Washington, we actually competed against 4 other national finalists. I really never got a number of how many teachers sent in videos, but I was told it was significant. So.
Well, let's go ahead and bring your science classroom to our studio.
Fun.
And be inventive.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. One of the things we're going to do is demonstrate some of the video that I had to submit to the Discovery Channel. And they gave me the option of choosing several things, and what I chose was one of Newton's laws. I actually chose Newton's third law, the law of action-reaction. For every action, there's equal and opposite reaction. Around us all the time is a buffer of air that prevents, and of course natural air inside of us, it prevents the air pressure from just squeezing the life out of us. So we're going to sort of see what would happen if we could remove that buffer. This kind of came about. One of my students asked me how the astronauts would be in space without a spacesuit and what are the implications and all that are. So Tony, if you'll just step in the bag here, we'll do this. And we're going to have him sort of just set right down in the bag, and I'll help you do that so you keep your balance. And then we're going to bring the bag up around him, and I want to, as a word of caution, make sure that if you try this, that you don't put it up around their heads, because they have to be able to breathe. We're going to literally remove all the air from that bag. So never put it over anyone's head. Okay, so the idea is now that Mother Nature is putting 14.7 pounds per square inch of air pressure right onto him right now, but there's a buffer of air inside the bag that protects him from that. So we're going to remove that buffer. Here we go. You ready? Is that pretty tight? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's quite a bit of pressure on you. And the amount of air that Mother Nature really has available to her is just amazing. So at the rate of 14.7 pounds per square inch, each one of us is literally supporting a ton of air, or even more, depending on the size of your body.
That was amazing. I mean, that was so tight, I could not move.
Yeah, it is really tight. So again, I'd caution people at home, if they want to try that, just don't put it up over their heads. Appreciate it.
Sure. That was absolutely amazing, Ed. There was so much pressure. I mean, it literally forced me down to the ground. That was absolutely amazing.
Amazing. I mean, we take for granted the air that's around us and the actual weight of the air. And when we see it happen with a can being crushed by a science teacher, we get a really good idea of how much air pressure is out there. But when we do that experiment in my classroom, my kids just learn volumes.
I wish I would have had a science class like this years ago.